All right, coaches of Barcelona and Inter Milan, and joining us to preview the big clash tonight is a sports journalist. Owen Roberts joins us from the UK, London. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to In the Game.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
All right, a big clash tonight, and the absence of away goal rule means that whatever happened in the first leg would mean like a goalless draw, or starting all over again. Where do you think the game will be won and lost for both teams? And do you think that Inter Milan, haven't gone away from home to get 3 goals, can wrap things up right here in Italy?
I think last week you saw obviously a very open game where there were 6 goals. So that would suggest that the game tonight at the San Siro will be won and lost by whoever can keep the other side out. We know obviously away goals were a rule in the Champions League until about 4 or 5 years ago, and Barcelona would have Inter Milan would have a massive advantage, wouldn't they, if away goals were still in play now? That's obviously not the case. You mentioned there Lewandowski coming back for Barcelona. I think that's massive, isn't it? It gives them even more of a goal threat after they scored last week. We saw goals coming from all over the pitch. Lamine Yamal, obviously, with that really good left-footed effort in the first half. So, yeah, I think the defences will be where the game will be won and lost tonight. And I think that the first goal is important, but it's probably not as important as it will be tomorrow night between PSG and Arsenal, where we saw how free scoring the game was last week. But I think it'll be a really good game. Really looking forward to it. It'll be a big atmosphere, and like I say, Inter Milan obviously looking to reach the final for the first time in a couple of years. Barcelona haven't reached it in 10 years. That's a long time for a club of their stature. So there's a lot on the line.
All right, let me come to Damiloju. Damiloju, looking at the Barcelona squad, I mean, all eyes will be on Lamine Yamal. Fantastic lad. He has done a lot, this season. Do you think the game plan will be for Inter Milan will be to just mark him out, prevent him from getting the balls, or whenever he gets the ball, try to stop him and focus mainly on Lamine Yamal, knowing fully well that is one of the is majorly the culprit when it comes to damage for Barcelona?
I don't think you can focus on only Lamine Yamal. There's a guy on the other wing who is in contention for the Ballon d'Or this year. In Rafinha, you need to ensure that you cut the passing lanes to Lamine Yamal. We saw a midfield trio of Frenkie de Jong, Pedri, and I think it was Dani Olmo that was the third person for Barcelona in the first leg, and I'm suspecting that they're going to have a similar setup. But what Inter Milan need to do is that midfield likes of Barella, Mkhitaryan, and Çalhanoğlu are going to need to work their socks off this evening to ensure that those passes don't get to Lamine Yamal, because we know once the ball gets to his leg, he can beat 3, 4, 5 players and put the ball in the top of the net. All
right, top of the net. We'll go on a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation on the Champions League. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still watching In the Game on News Central TV. We're talking about the Champions League, the game between Inter Milan and Barcelona. Being joined by Owen Roberts and Damiloju Saliu, talking about the chances of both teams, going out today. And Owen, the last question to Damiloju was about Lamine Yamal. Over time, when Barcelona used to have Lionel Messi in the team, most managers do look at Lionel Messi as a man to try to cage in the game. Now, when you try to cage Lionel Messi, which of course most of the times have been impossible in the world of football, and Damiloju says that Lamine Yamal, it's impossible to just focus on him for you in the Barcelona squad. Aside Lamine Yamal, who do you think Inter Milan should be wary of tonight, knowing fully well the threats they can pose?
Lewandowski, definitely, as he's back from injury. I think also, I'm just touching on Yamal there. I've read an article this morning comparing him to Messi already. I think that, he's obviously 17 and he's very young, but he's got big boots to fill in that sense. Obviously, a lot of expectation on him. But yeah, I think, so Lewandowski definitely, Rafinha, as you mentioned there, obviously formerly of Leeds United. So threats down both wings and up front is going to make it very difficult for Inter Milan. But, we saw goals all over the pitch from Inter Milan last week. So, if they can find goals again tonight, then they've got a decent chance of going through, especially at home.
All right, let's come to the Inter Milan side. Interesting players, Marcus Thuram, Marko Arnautovic, fantastic player, Eric Mkhitaryan. These are players with experience. If you were in the shoes of the manager, Simone Inzaghi, what would be your game plan coming into the game against Barcelona? Will you go defensive like what Jose Mourinho did years back when his team, Inter Milan, faced Barcelona, or will you come outside and do massive attack, massive defense?
Yeah, I think trying to stay defensively to start with, but they're at home, play on the front foot. If they can get the first goal, that'd be important. And yeah, last week we scored a really open game, so probably trying to play on the front foot more often than that.
All right, let me come to Damiloju. Inter Milan, we've talked about Barcelona. I mean, they like to attack. I've never seen a Barcelona team defend. Attack is their first point of call before they think about defending. For Inter Milan, do you think the way they came out against Barcelona in the first leg, they should also attempt that or go conservative in approaching this game?
It's interesting. These two teams met 3 seasons ago, and one of the legs was 3-3. The other one at San Siro, Inter won by a goal to nothing. I'm expecting Inter Milan to be a little more adventurous than normal today, and here's why. No Jules, Koundé, like you said earlier, whoever is going to play at right back is not going to be natural. There is either an academy boy that doesn't have a lot of experience, or it could be Eric Garcia, who is naturally a centre back. There's a Dumfries also was a pest and a menace for Barcelona in the first leg. So what I expect Inter Milan to do is, with those 3 midfielders, Barella, Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu, they will try to hold on to as much of a midfield mid-block as they can, and if those opportunities present themselves, they'll hit on the counter. The only problem, there's no Lautaro Martinez. I do not trust either of Arnautovic or Mkhitaryan to bury the ball in the back of the net when you get few chances.
All right, before we leave the conversation this afternoon, I'd like to put you on the spot, Owen Roberts. Your predictions for this game. Do you think what do you think will play out, in terms of goals, and who would eventually qualify to the final?
I think it'll be slightly more cagey in the first leg, so I'll say maybe 1-1 in normal time, and then Inter to nick it 2-1 in extra time.
Interesting. Damiloju?
I'm going to go with exactly what happened 3 years ago, and Inter Milan are going to win by a goal to nothing, and I see them winning in the final. All
right, both gentlemen this afternoon have tipped Inter Milan to go through, but Owen is saying via extra time. Damiloju is saying it's going to be wrapped up in 90 minutes, 1-0 ball. We'll wait to see if we'll have a new octopus in the bag and in the mix, come 10 p.m. tonight, or maybe, of course, tomorrow morning. Thank you very much, Owen Roberts, for coming through. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers, Emil.